is. I always laugh when people use string builders. Because that like, it used to be a thing. It's not a thing anymore. Unless you're like really actually using tons and tons of stuff. It just shows that you don't actually know that that quote unquote optimization doesn't really do anything anymore. Alright, so the password file is create password file v3 file name. Alright, so it's like one of these set passphrase. Alright, so what we're going to want is password. They made it so it has to use string builders? That is so dumb. Why would you do this? Oh man, this is so stupid. They used trash tier stuff, didn't they? What type of fucking iterator is this thing? Oh, it's a util iterator, but it's a thing that extends. Sometimes I hate Java. That's a lot of the time. What the hell is this crap? So it's like get field, new PWS user? Is it PWS string Unicode field. And it's like PWS record v3 dot username. Password field type. Is it like this? Yeah, alright, it is. So PWS field. Alright, so this is user field. PS, yeah, it's testsafe.psafe3. Alright. Did we not load it? How does password safe integrate into a browser? You just mount it from... I don't know. It doesn't integrate with a browser. Oh, as far as... Like, I never integrated with a browser. I just use it directly. YubiKey. Do you work at Facebook? Because I think they use YubiKey. I don't know. I have a friend that works there, and he's talked about some of that crap before. But then again, he's worked for other things. How do I... I want to read this thing. How do I read it? Create file, test passphrase. Alright, yeah, I want to say like f.setReadOnly true. See if this does anything. So you got no records. Trying to see how I'm supposed to use this. I'm not sure what you're asking about. What the password there is just 12345. That's the simplest password of all time. What I'm surprised about is there's this read all function which exists in their test code. The method read all from the type PWS file is not visible. Are you for fucking real? They made these things invisible so I can't actually read files? It reads all records from the file. So read all is supposed to be the thing that actually reads it, but I can't actually look at it? I mean, supposedly you can call open, but that doesn't do it either. So maybe I am supposed to do something like this. Like that's supposed to call open on it. Don't use the default constructor, maybe? Alright, so it does actually error out if I go to file that doesn't exist. It's not reading any records. I don't understand. I am just going to open this. Why aren't they letting me do some sort of... Like, this thing is supposed to read. Like, this is also a protected function. You can't use it. That is just interesting that they literally have got this trash here where I need to be able to call read all. I need to be able to call read all. That's just all there is to it. So let's just recompile this thing. And create a new lib for it. That is just so freaking odd. That this is all private. Yeah, see, there you go. Like, and now it works. Ugh, that's just... To think that they made their library, but they made it so like everything is sealed inside of the library so nobody could actually use it as a library. That's just fucking weird to me. I wouldn't have designed a system like that. Alright, well, it looks like it actually works, so that's cool. Well, that's interesting. So I can actually use password safe v3 just as a source for my credentials then. So I can store all this garbage here. Alright, so alright, so I can use password safe locally to store everything, and then I can encrypt it, throw it in KMS, and do that. So I could actually go ahead and make something that uses password safe locally, and then have like some sort of key file or something on my machine that just I point to, kind of like I do with my AWS creds to start with. So we'd want like a loader for password safe, and then a loader for KMS as well. Not bad. That would have been. That's easier than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I'll be right back. We'll start working on this credential layer. So I'll get back to work after I finish off this bagel. Alright, well I will get back to actually doing some work here. Alright, so what I need to do is I need to make a system that's going to read this in and then store the encrypted stuff in S3. So let's make a new tool here. Let's call this credential tool. So it'll be our credential storage tool, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take this stuff, so this tool will store encrypted data on S3. we'll grab our stuff out of our password safe, and we'll encrypt it using KMS for Amazon, and we will then store that data in S3 so that we can load it later and then use it. Alright, let's make sure we got everything checked out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our password safe utility thing. So we're just going to wrap it so it's not so freaking idiotic to use this thing. Because I don't need this thing to work like it works at the moment. I just need it to kind of just do what I do. Doesn't need to be any sort of complicated. I want it to just snag the basics. So we'll have a list of entries that we just load in, and let's just keep it real dumb. We're not going to allow you to change anything, we're just going to read it, and if I ever need to do anything else with this thing, then I will, otherwise, who really cares? So we have group, end of record, group, access time, notes, expiry, title, URL. So I'll make an entry. let's see if I can actually get the I guess I can just do 2-string on these things. If they're binary, they're probably going to get all screwed up. So I mean, I could do like a base 64 encode on all this garbage. Why don't we just go ahead and do that? Let's just so we'll get the bytes and we'll do 2 base 64. Just like that. Alright, so we'll get our creds file, we'll get our bucket, we'll get our root. Alright, our credentials file is going to be like that. Bucket's going to be this. Root is going to be credentials. Password safe location is going to be secret/test safe.psafe3. And the password is super secret. It's 1 2 3 4 5 is the best password for my passwords. Alright, so what are we going to do? We're going to make a wd password safe equals new password safe, and safe.get all entries. So this is an array list of these things. Alright, let's just go through and get the entries. Let's make sure it works. Let's also go to our main here and add stuff. This is going to be credential storage tool, and that's going to be wd credential storage tool.class. So now we can call that thing from our command line. So let's see what this has got going on for us. Alright, so there's our test credential.null. Gotta go open this up and mess with stuff a little bit. Alright, so let's make this thing again. So let's make a new... add a group. Let's call it test group. And then we'll add an entry to this group. We'll call this test. Oh, I guess we have, yeah, we have the title here, so I'll call this test credential, username of test user, and password of test password. Alright, so let's see what it prints out for us. Test credential.test group test user. Alright, so this needs to be this is group. Alright, so it should look like that. So that's how we'll refer to our stuff, I believe, just like that. And this is base 64 encoded, so that's not an actual password. Alright, so what do I need to do? I need to create a new WD S3 and everything else there. And let's see, we should save this as a single file, so we want this to be credentials, I guess S3 path should be what we do. So we'll just save it as credential master creds.json. Alright, so I need an actual key, a KMS key for this thing. So I need to actually go to KMS and start using that online here. So KMS is in IAM, I guess. Alright, so there's encryption keys with KMS. Alright, welcome to AWS KMS. Get started. Alright, let's create a key. An alias for this is going to be Dashkin server, or Dashkin services. This key is used for Dashkin service encryption. Advanced options. Key should be KMS. Next step, add a tag. The Don't need one. Define privileges. Allow key administrators to delete this key. Yes. Key usage permissions. Key usage permissions. Yes, I should be able to use that. Key policy. Finish. Alright, so the key ID is... Alright, so the key ID is this thing. I need an actual ARN for this thing. Or do I just need the key ID? It looks like I just need the key ID and everything else will figure itself out. I need this value, not the whole thing. So that's going to be the key that we're going to use. The material is going to be what, the name of the thing. Alright, so we're basically going to make this blob here. I'm going to want a stored credential, so that's going to be on here. So public static class WD stored credential. So it's going to be public string in key, public string in context, public string. What did we have for it? It was for encryption. I need the material. For decrypt, I need material and data. So, alright. So we don't need the key, we just need the material and the data. And we're going to want a public static class WD stored, I guess, encrypted credential file. It's going to be this thing, so I had serialized name creds, and it's going to be a public array list of these stored credentials. So we'll have our mat and det. So we'll save one of these files as a JSON file in S3 when we do so. Alright, so we encrypt these things, so we're going to need the key ID, which is KMS key. The material is going to be the name here. The data is going to be... Well, should we have two entries, one for the username, one for the password? Because these are all credential pairs. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to have two. So we'll encrypt both. could encrypt binary, but we don't need to. Why does this encrypt to base 64? And that's going to return us a string. Alright, so our credential thing actually has material for like user material. And our password material. So we'll do user, mat, passmat, user dat, and passdat. Alright, so once we have those, we need to make our file. It's going to be this thing. Alright, so we're going to need to make a credential file entry. So let's see, this will be the user material. It's going to be this value here. And then I need to upload this thing to S3. So it's going to be string JSON equals WD serialization utils to JSON. Let's make it pretty JSON so we can read what the hell it is. And it's going to be this cred file. So that'll give us our data. So JSON.getBytes, and then we'll throw our S3 bucket and our S3 path up there. Alright, so we'll encrypt that thing, do that, all that, let's log out some stuff. So slogger info. Uploading credentials stored in password safe. Slogger info to S3 bucket S3 path. So let's see if it works. Alright, so credentials exists. We've got our credential. So let's go download that file real quick. And there we go with our credential file with this encrypted blah 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 blah, which is excellent. That means that we can actually encrypt stuff and use it. I know this is like incredibly boring. Just like, here we go. Let's make it so we can have a username and a password on a server and not have it be like super insecure. And let's spend an hour and a half or something making it so that we're not just using a text file with all of our usernames and passwords in it in production. Like that's something you gotta do though. Otherwise, you're gonna have a bad day at some point. Somebody's gonna steal that file, or one of the things that can happen is like the biggest reason why you have this sort of information security is not because it's basically if their password gets out, you can quickly change all the things that use it. So you can actually like. Usually the issue is if a password gets out, you need to reset everything. And if you can't reset everything that uses the password, then you're just hosed. Like, you're going to suffer massive downtime. So, for instance, like, you accidentally throw a password out there. You don't want to be like, well, I don't know if it actually got out there. We don't know if people actually, watch that part of the video. Or we don't know if the server was actually accessed, or if somebody snagged this thumb drive and read the contents or whatever. It's just like there's no like comparison of like, well, it's going to take us a week of downtime to like reset everything. It'll just be like, oh, well, that'll take like 2 minutes. All right, reset all the passwords. There you go. End of security event. And then go right up like not to use thumb drives that you found in the parking lot. That say, free copy of Microsoft Office on the